Let's welcome in the next members of our panel today. Right here, Josh Ward. Thank you for being here. And right there, VFL Sterling Hinton. Always with a smile, even if it's fake.
No, I can't fake smile. I mean, I'm not good at that.
And right there, Bob Hodge. Bob, thank you.
Fake smile.
All right, let's put up a poll question for today. It's a simple one. What was the reason for last night's loss? Some of you already been online and been playing. 1, outcoached. 2, defense. 3, offense. 4, them refs stole it. So let us know. You can go. That's right there under the Hearthside Bank logo, always within reach. Same goes for our poll. Just take your smartphone, click the QR code, and you can play along, or go to sportsource.tv/polls. All right, let's be quick here. We do this every week. This was supposed to start with somebody else, but I'll start it with Josh. Best player on the field. We've been saying Dylan Sampson a lot, but it's best player on the field, not just Tennessee. It's either team.
Carson Beck.
Yeah.
He looked like the preseason first-team All-SEC quarterback that he was chosen to be. He looked like the potential first-round pick at quarterback, and he's got guys that are out. He has Dylan Bell go out in the middle of the game. He knows he has to step up because he doesn't have a running game, and Carson Beck stepped up in a big, big way. He's the best player.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, no debate here. I mean,
Give him his props.
He made a pass. That first touchdown pass was undefendable. He wasn't even open. That was just a dime. And what people probably won't give him as much credit for, but a guy that played a position that he plays that he deserves just as much credit was that move against and throwing the ball back across. He got that ball up and out so fast. One more normal throwing motion, he might have caught the ball out of bounds and would have been a touchdown. So, and that time he should have been sacked 3 times on that scramble, 3rd and 12. Hey, brother, I mean, sometimes the guys get in his zone, and he showed it last night.
Yeah, he had about 30 yards on the ground, too.
Yeah,
so,
We had that first run to pick up the first down, and he lowered his shoulder.
Yeah.
That we've talked about with Nico. Sometimes you get that kind of run, and it gets you going as a quarterback. I think that probably got Carson Beck going, too.
All right, worst decision. This can be coaches, players, officials. Worst decision. Lobbing one out there.
I would lean into the officials, but I think the worst decision, and you all talked about it a little bit in the first segment, was for Tennessee to go down there with basically the same game plan that they've had without literally tweaking anything here, doing something, because when you say somebody got out coached, and like you said, doesn't mean your coaches are bad, doesn't mean your coaches are stupid, but Tennessee went down there with a lack of answers in their back pocket. Okay, Georgia's going to do what they do, we're going to do what they do, and that's the ball game. And you get down there, and after the first quarter go, oh, now what do we got? And I just thought Tennessee had no answers and had no creativity. And so not having a very thick playbook when you went to Georgia, I think that was your worst decision.
Well, I mean, I think about what happened out there. We had some unfortunate drops. We had some times we should have some sacks that could have played. But in my opinion, the worst people out there were the officials. I don't care what's going on or what anybody says. When they called that face mask, that was a stop for us. And I'm not certain that was a face mask. We had a player going off the field. That's hadn't been called all year.
That's the one that stood out to me.
Oh, my God, you kidding me? And so then when the gentleman, when Beck gave the pass and they called it an incomplete pass, I think he took 3 steps, not 2, and it was a fumble. But, hey, look here, man. That's my opinion, and that's how I'm standing on 10 toes down.
You'd have better arguments, though,
you got both feet in.
And both feet
if
on
Tennessee wasn't in the bottom of at the bottom in penalties. That makes it hard to question a lot of things. Although I agree with some of your points.
I think the face mask was wrong, but I can see, I'm looking at it 100 miles an hour. He did get his hands under there. Then he turns around, the helmet comes off. I could see an official not knowing his angle, thinking maybe that was it. So I'll give an official, they're not getting 45 replays slow. The one that stood out to me, though, was I've seen all year people take their time getting off the field. That's the first time I've ever seen anybody say, well, you got to do it in 3 seconds. What?
Yeah.
I've not heard that. I'm good. I would be good if they actually implemented that. I think they should. But I haven't seen it called on anybody else this year. That stood out to me. Josh, biggest, or when are we doing it? Worst decision?
Most costly decision might be, hey, Omar Norman Lott, you look tired. Why don't you take a rest on the field? Yeah. Because that was there for everybody to see. Yep. It then got talked about by the broadcasters, which will make it easy for the SEC office, and that we have the new rule, we have the new fines and the public reprimand that comes. So that one's going to be a pretty tough one to fight off if the SEC looks at it, because you see Omar Norman-Lott moving fine at a slow pace, looking tired.
Looks over, he does the Sasquatch look.
And then he goes down. So that one was pretty obvious, I thought.
Yeah.
And won't it be ironic when Tennessee gets bit by that? After everybody around here has complained for 3 years.
Well, and you've been doing it
Everybody
on
does it to
yeah,
you.
yeah, and you've been doing it on extra points for years
Oh,
too.
yeah,
My problem is every fan base now boos every injury when everybody's team does it, and I'm kind of tired of it. It's a $50,000 fine, I think, for the first one.
For the first one, yeah. And anytime it happens, that's why this rule, I think, it came way too late. It took too long. We were seeing too much of it. So when it happens, they should be called out. When Lane Kiffin does it at Ole Miss, it should be called out. When Alabama had a player run out and then fall onto the sideline, should be called out. And last night, it was called out nationally, so I would expect to hear from the SEC if I'm Tennessee.
To me, $50,000. Josh Heupel's going to get an APR bonus that will dwarf $50,000. To me, if you want to make this stick, that's a $500,000 fine to the coach and the school the first time you do it. Second time, it's $1 million. You want to try again? Come back to my office. I'll tell you. I'll give you something special for the third time. You want to end it? End it. $50,000 is a joke.
To be clear, it's not the players. The players are doing what they're instructed.
It's the coaches and the school. See, they're putting it on the coaches, which is fine. Hit the school, too. That'll stop it. All right, last one. Biggest disappointment. I'll give you one, and it's one where when Daniel's here, Daniel always talks about penalties don't matter. They mattered last night, and one where they mattered was, in my opinion, you had a 4th and 6 with just about 9 minutes to go. You were going to go for it, and then Hurd jumps, and it's now 4th and 11. You decide, well, we're going to punt, and your defense can't stop them. They go 92 yards with it. To me, that was the biggest disappointment was, okay, we're going to see a play that's really a do or die, and we didn't get it because of the penalty.
My biggest disappointment was the defense that gave up that last drive to put the game out of reach, because I thought that was the reason you were going to Georgia with a real chance to win, was your defense was that good. And because they played poorly in that game, it doesn't undo everything they've done before.
No, they've been asked to do an awful lot this year.
You've been a really good defense all year. But last night, the way they played, no, to me, that was the biggest disappointment, that they made you look like Tennessee defenses in the past that have gone down to Georgia.
Yeah, I would say lack of pressure on Beck. We saw last week what it did to him, this season what it's done to him.
Yeah.
Georgia's inability to protect Carson Beck. Ole Miss was after him the whole game.
Turnovers
and he had a bad game because of it. Tennessee, which has elite pass rush talent, and they've had a really good season, it didn't show up last night. Beck was able to stand in there and do what he wanted to do, and he did it.
He did it. You got a big disappointment?
Just a couple of drops. I wish we'd have caught the ball in those situations. I mean, but I know we will in the future.
Nico needs help. He can't just be called on to do it himself. We'll talk about Nico a little later because you noticed there were no knocks on Nico. I thought he played tough last night and looked like he belonged on the stage.
Got knocked around after getting knocked out last week.
Yeah, okay. If you want a worse decision, learn to slide with feet first. That's one.
Yeah.
It's time for the coaches. Here's one where the coaches can get involved. Teach him to go down. So he took way too many shots last night for a guy coming off a concussion. When we come back, is Tennessee closing the gap with Georgia? Or was this just a slight down year for Georgia and you missed your chance? Come on back. This will be a good discussion.